reflect on the growing global drug crisis. Here in Namibia, drug-related crimes continue to dominate police reports, raising serious concern, especially among the youth. Joining us now is Major General ANNE-MARIE NAINDA, Deputy Inspector General for Administration in the Namibian Police, to talk to us about the current situation and what's being done to combat drug abuse and trafficking. Inspector General, thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on your platform this evening.
Well, to start with the police reports, we've been seeing drug-related crimes dominating this year's national crime reports. Can the, Namibian Police just provide an overview of the most common drugs that are trafficked or abused, and which regions within the country stand as the most affected?
Thank you for that valid question. The drug trafficking and drug abuse situation in Namibia is alarming. And as you have seen in our recent reports, most of the regions are affected by this phenomenon. But then the difference is that in some of the regions, we now see trends that, especially cannabis, that we call dacha, is even grown in the backyards. And that is really a serious problem. When it comes to hard drugs that we are referring to, drugs such as Mandrex, coke, and crack cocaine, ecstasy, those drugs are normally smuggled into Namibia. And we have confiscated, especially Mandrex, and predominantly the border posts where these drugs are entering is in the south. There are high confiscation of drugs. In the north, as well as our borders towards also the Juba region. So those are the places where we have confiscated high quantities of drugs, particularly this year.
This morning, Inspector General, a reporter covered a community demonstration that took place in Rehabilitation. I'm sure you're aware of it, where residents, really voiced frustration over ongoing drug abuse and distribution within their town. How is the Namibian Police responding to such grassroots concerns, and what specific actions are being taken in towns such as Rehabilitation?
Rehabilitation remains one of the drug-prone areas. And as much as Rehabilitation is resorting under ROUNDUP region, and there's a drug law enforcement unit specializing in dealing with those type of crimes in Mariental. Because of the pressing need, we have even established an office in Rehabilitation. We have come up with very robust strategies to handle the situation in Rehabilitation. We are further working on enhancing our relationship with the communities of Rehabilitation, and also always constantly engaging to get information from members of the public so that we can address the situation. Further to that, we are also having close collaboration with some entities that are assisting us in campaigns, in education campaigns within Rehabilitation and even beyond Rehabilitation. So there's a lot of planned activity. We have in fact prioritized the drug activities, anti-crime activities in Rehabilitation.
Inspector General, earlier you said that the drug issue within Namibia is really all over the country, but the major drug busts were recorded particularly in regions such as Ironga and Khomas. So how's the police force strengthens its surveillance and their anti-drug operations in these particular hotspots?
We have got both covered and overt activities. So, drugs is a hidden crime. It's one of the oldest transnational organized crimes, and it's having a serious element of being hidden. So what we have done now is we are continuously recruiting more informers, and we are then, it's even called a police-generated crime because it's not a crime that's reported to the police. We are to unravel it through information and tips that we are getting. So we have reviewed our strategies. In Erongo, for example, the hard drugs are more, you would find more Mandrex and other types of hard drugs that are also more expensive drugs. commerce also, but the cannabis, most of it is normally confiscated in Karas, the bigger quantities. So we have reviewed our approaches and we are trying to intensify what we have been doing, both from an investigative perspective and also from a prevention perspective. What we have also done is we have also continuously retrained our investigators, that those that are working in that specific area, and then also engage both regional neighbors. And we are also optimally using now tools such as databases from Interpol, and also exchange information and intelligence of our neighbors in that regard.
Do you face any challenges, Inspector, when it comes to tackling, drug trafficking networks, especially along the borders with our neighboring countries, such as perhaps Angola and South Africa?
As you know, our borders are very porous, and it's open borders, it's porous, and it's not necessarily that this smuggling is always taking place through the designated areas of our borders where we have deployed. From time to time, we have confiscated drugs from trucks that are entering, sometimes even individual people and groups that are smuggling it. But we do have good cooperation with our neighbors. And once we have got information, we share, and then we would always have what we call controlled deliveries once we get information. So we are really intensifying our efforts to make sure that our borders are safe and that we are policing more in an improved way at our borders.
With so many young people, reportedly involved in the use of, drugs and also the distribution thereof, what proactive steps are being taken to engage schools and communities before, arrests might become necessary?
What happens is with schools, we have got dedicated programs. And our community affairs officers are constantly going out to schools. And we have also got programs that we are prioritizing in terms of community engagement and crime prevention and community engagement to educate alongside with other stakeholders that are also, like Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education. We are having committed activities with those stakeholders.
Lastly, Inspector General, beyond enforcement, does the Namibian Police work with rehabilitation centres, or even with the Ministry of Health to support individuals, that are either found with these amounts of drugs, especially the young people, or that use them for the first time, especially as first-time offenders?
Yes, as you know, the rehabilitation, there's a limitation of rehabilitation centres. But as a collective, all the OMAs that are involved and all other private entities that are assisting us in this endeavor, we would always find ways to assist those that are addicted through, especially Ministry of Health, that is having that capacity to deal with it accordingly.
I think also just lastly, before I bid you farewell, for anybody that would like to report something that they've seen within the community, drug-related, or a parent that's struggling with a child, etc., where can they go for assistance?
In fact, the drug law enforcement units are decentralized. They are throughout the 14 regions. We also have these suggestion boxes at strategic places, at shopping centers in all the 14 regions. And even at the police stations, there are boxes where people can go drop information, and their identities will always be protected. Any police office or police station, and you can then give information, and then your identity will be protected so that. And in fact, we are recruiting more informers, and there are some incentives, financial incentives involved in that regard, so that we can collectively fight the scourge of drug abuse and drug trafficking that is really causing a serious damage to our young young people and to all of us as a society.
Major General ANNE-MARIE NAINDA, we appreciate your time this evening and thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Thank you, Nina.
Well, we're going to take a brief break, and when we come back after that, we continue with our conversations here on the Daily Roundup. Stay with us.